Welcome to the Inventor's Edge podcast, where insight meets innovation. Whether you're sketching your first idea or refining a finished product, you're in the right place. Our mission is to equip you with the tools, expertise, and clarity you need to succeed as an inventor, while helping you conquer fears and limiting beliefs that may be holding you back. I'm your host, Scott Putnam, founder and CEO of Inventor's Edge. Before becoming a seasoned product development coach, I was a wide-eyed inventor with a head full of ideas but no clear path forward. I know firsthand what it's like to feel stuck, uncertain, and overwhelmed. Fast forward to today, I'm a successful entrepreneur with multiple licensing deals and products on the market. I'm committed to helping inventors like you overcome obstacles, conquer fears, and transform your ideas into tangible success through proven, actionable, step-by-step strategies that deliver real results. Join us as we bring in industry pros, share expert advice, and dive deep into the world of innovation. Ready to turn your ideas into reality? Let's get started. Today on the Inventor's Edge podcast, we're joined by someone who knows exactly what it takes to turn a great idea into a strong, market-ready brand. Ari Krzyzek is the CEO and head of strategy at Seekalofia, the award-winning creative web agency trusted by startups, global organizations, and over 250 businesses looking to scale. Ari is the co-author of the best-selling book, Made to Sell, Creating Websites That Convert. And she's widely recognized as a leader in branding, UX design, and strategic digital growth. She mentors through organizations like 1871, Chicago Innovation, and DePaul University's Coleman Entrepreneurship Center. And her work has been featured in things like Forbes, Thrive Global, and many more. Her expertise sits right at the intersection of creativity and technology, exactly where today's inventors need to be. Whether you're stuck between prototype and profitability or trying to ensure your product stands out online, Ari brings the clarity, strategy, and real-world experience to help you move forward. Let's dive right in. Hey, Ari, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me here today, Scott. This is so exciting.
I'm so glad to have you, and I know you're such a wealth of knowledge and experience. I'm excited to dive right in, but before we get into some of the questions, I was just curious if you can tell us where you're from and maybe just a little bit about yourself.
Yeah. Oh man, I was born and raised in Bali, Indonesia. So it's always fascinating, right? For a lot of people, like, why are you here in the United States instead of like in the Paradise Island? It's like, well, the thing is, living in a terrible country, especially in an island like Bali, oftentimes you don't get a lot of resources that you want to really help you grow, right? So the main reason why I'm here in Chicago, I just feel like I finally realized that I needed to be outside of my little island and really just like, embracing the knowledge here and really just like helping myself grow. And at the end of the day, I felt like with the business as well, there's a lot more resources, mentorship, and in general, just a wealth of knowledge surrounding, where I live here today in Chicago. And in terms of like, the way I started my business was also a little bit unconventional because I thought I'm just going to be like, a graphic designer, and that's what I wanted to be when I graduate. But I realized that I always wanted more and I couldn't really get that. And, a you could say like traditional settings of a 9 to 5 job. So when my husband, opened up my world in terms of like freelancing and also like, the world in the internet, like different gigs and here and it just feels like I could do so much more. And that's when I challenged myself, like I would love to just like, embrace this entrepreneurship and become my own boss essentially. And that was really the start until we got married in 2011 and he basically popped another question, would you want to be my business partner? And I said, sure, what could go wrong? But
All
that
right.
was that was really a unique moment because I thought that, of course, I would probably going to like learn more about business, but I did not realize what it actually take to be an entrepreneur.
Yeah, that's a lot. I'm sure you had a lot of surprises and a lot of aha moments and definitely peaks and valleys through that process.
Oh, yes.
So going from Bali to Chicago, I mean, the weather alone, how was that transition?
Oh, man. So I first got to United States as a student exchange program. I received the grant, and then I got into University of Arizona. So that was my very first introduction to just learn a little bit about the U.S., right? The culture and everything. Then I went back, and then finally realizing that I don't really want to stay in Bali as much. I want to really challenge myself to grow in the U.S., and that's why I ended up coming to Chicago with my husband. I mean, my husband has always been here. I just
Yeah.
decided that we should probably live in Chicago.
Mm.
But what really interesting is when I realized I want to build a business with my husband, and then understanding that I also need to be out there. I need to market myself, right? Can't just open up the business and then hope people will come. That just doesn't
Mhm.
work, right?
Yeah.
So started to really go to different networking events, really trying to, introduce myself in the business community here in Chicagoland area. That was a really interesting journey simply because I felt like I didn't belong in any of those rooms, simply
Mm.
because I didn't see anybody else who looked like me.
Mhm.
So that was one, I felt like a limitation on my end, right? Because people around me would say, like, you are obviously welcome here, learn from us. But it was that I guess you could say like it's a mindset, right? Mindset shift that I have to overcome in the past, knowing that I need to push myself forward. I need to be
Mhm.
in, with other great minds, really to really learn from each other and get mentorship. So I didn't stop, of course. And then all of these different support from mentors and women businesses here in the United States, especially in Chicago, has really helped me become who I am today. And I would never forget that. And I think that is part of the reason why I work a lot with women-led businesses primarily. And that
Mm.
just become, one of the core things that I hold very dear to my heart.
Yeah, that's so great. And it really connects the dots with how we met through my daughter who goes to DePaul University and works for the Coleman Entrepreneur Center and had connected the dots with you. And I love that there's so much out there with women in business, especially women in entrepreneurship businesses that are supporting each other and doing so much great work to help women in business. And with as a father of two daughters, I'm like, yes, go, let's make this happen. So it's great. I wanted to ask before we jump into the questions, tell us a little bit about your business and what do you do and how did you get it going and just a maybe overview of the whole process.
Yeah, that's a really good question. So I started a business with my husband, Peter, who is now my chief technology officer. We started just the two of us, right? It was really this
Mhm.
concept of very romantic concept. Like, it's you and me against the world kind of thing, right? We started off
Love it.
as a very small, husband and wife studio for really graphic design, branding, logo, website. And that was the very beginning. And it slowly evolved into an agency when I start to realize that I cannot keep up with all of the,
Mhm.
requests and businesses coming in, but also realizing that it's no longer just me and him, right? It's no longer just the two of us that can really make a successful project happen. It needs to be supported by team members, and we need to start like delegating more if we really want to grow the business. So I think, getting into probably about 7 years in business, we just finally being honest to ourselves, like, yeah, we can't do this to the two of us anymore. Like, let's definitely pivot and really aim to becoming an agency that can truly help businesses. So we primarily work with B2B businesses, really helping them figure out how do they really reach out their target audience, especially if one, they may want to go to market with maybe new product, new services, and trying to really understand like how do we really position ourselves in the market, knowing that we can be seen as the leader in the industry, we can be seen as the best quality product business in the market as well, right? So oftentimes a client will come to us really looking for a lot of these guidance, but also making sure that their systems online, especially for their website or any other supporting marketing platforms that they're using, can support the growth of their business and the sales goals that they truly want. So those are some of the things that we really love to do. On the sides, we love helping and really just like mentoring other startups founders. And I
Mm.
think this really tie into the way we started the business as well, because we started knowing not much about business. Everything is really learning by doing from the mistakes. And, our mentors would tell us, like, don't do that. Here's a shortcut. And we're such a big believer on that because everything has been done before. You don't need to repeat the same mistakes anymore, right?
Mhm.
But yeah, those are pretty much what we do.
That's awesome. Such wise words. Learn from other people's mistakes and stand on the shoulders of giants. I talk about that all the time. And also, you wrote a book, Made to Sell. Can you tell us a little bit about that? I see it in the background there. I love your cover.
Yes. So, Made to Sell, creating websites that convert. We launched the book about 3 years now, and the book really is more about the strategy of thinking how do you position yourself in your digital, with your digital presence right throughout the website. Because
Mhm.
oftentimes what we've learned after working with so many different businesses in the past, and this is our 14th year in business, we've seen so many people coming in and create so many different mistakes around their branding, around their marketing, and especially on the web, right? They always have this perception that my website is already out there, people will come. It's like, that's not always true. And we
Yeah,
know that. And some
right.
people would say, like, yeah, we put together a website and just calling it a day. I was like, you have to work on your website. You can just like leave it alone and not doing anything with it, or not even promoting it, not, you know, really reviewing it so that it can do better job promoting your business and doing the harder work to essentially, sell your services or your products on the web. So I think there are a lot of mistakes that people don't really start with the goal of the website when they create a website. I mean, if you don't have a goal for a website, you might not need a website, right? Because
Mhm.
it is such an investment for your business. So thinking about how do you really want to approach this marketing on on the web, on your digital presence, start with the goal. If you already have a goal, it's much easier to really picture and also figure out, like, what do you want your website to do to support your business. So the book is really helping to think about, like, what is the goal, why do you even need the website, and how do you really bring all of this vision come to life with your website.
Yeah, starting with the end in mind. I think I think about websites and people who start new businesses or even inventors that I work with who always ask about that. Do I need a website for my product? And it's like, not really, but I want one. I just want to have one. It's sort of like this novelty about having a website, but not
Yeah.
really having any goals around it. Um, and a lot of inventors start with a great product idea, but they really struggle with the brand. And if they're looking to venture a product themselves, the branding is so important. And we live about 20 miles from the Field of Dreams. So it's sort of if you build it, they will come, which it works really well in the movies, but
Mm.
in real life, like what you talked about, it's you got to have a plan and a strategy. So, where would you say inventors should begin when they're turning, let's say, a prototype into a marketable brand? What's the first thing they should think
Yeah.
about?
I would say a few different areas. The first thing is to really have a clarity in terms of, like, what is the purpose of this product, right? Your
Hmm.
invention. What is it going to do for your target audience, for the people that you want to create impact towards to? And I think it's so powerful to start from there, because you start seeing, like, how are you really different compared to all the other, solutions or even inventions out there.
Hmm.
owning what's truly unique about you and your brand, it can be so powerful because people then can clearly see and envision how to use your product and how to see living, their life and maybe even like bettering their life with that particular product or invention. Now, I really love starting from there because everything else around branding and marketing really is being pulled from that foundation, right? That very foundation is what's gonna power up how you're going to talk to your target audience about the benefits, not just the features, but really what is the benefit for them. But then also pulling in other information about like how do you compare yourself with all the others? When you see websites and then there are, compare product A to product B, C, and D, right? People simply just want to understand, like, if I choose your product, what is in it for me? Compared to like if I go to like your competitors. So having these information right at the gate is so helpful because you're going to save a lot more time, a lot more money trying to like market yourself when it is time to go to market, as well as also like ramping up those sales conversation, or if like putting up a website that can really sell for you immediately.
Hmm. Yeah, great point. And I always think too, and when I'm coaching people, I talk about this is the product's important, but you're part of this. You as the person, the entrepreneur, the inventor, how much I guess when you're talking about branding, how much of it is about the product versus how much of it is about the person themselves?
That is a really, really interesting question, simply because we have this question all the time, right?
Mhm.
People would ask this question, not just to us, but we often ask this about ourselves too. Like, how much of us should be online, should be on our social media, should be on, all the different messagings that we are putting out there. The thing is, as much as sometimes people don't want to be the face of the company, you are the face of the company, right?
Mhm.
People don't just buy product because they buy a product. They buy it because one, it needs to solve a problem for them, but they also looking for that connection. They want to know like who is the founder? Like why did they even create this? Isn't it so crazy sometimes when you go to any website and you're trying to understand about one company and there is no picture of the founder or the team member or nothing about, whoever is behind this company. And you start thinking it's like, is this company even real? Right? I
Mhm.
mean, like, is this a legit company? So I think there is this, desire for a lot of us consumers, right, to connect with the inventors, the person behind the brand. So it's about to understand, like, are we aligned in terms of like values? Like, who are you? Like, can I really trust you? So you may not want to be the face of the company, but the good news is you don't always have to be the face of the company. But I think in the first, let's just say like, first 5 years or something like that, right? You need to own it simply because you are going to connect directly with your target audience and they want to connect with you as well. The other way to think about this is thinking about the brand values of a brand. When we want to purchase something specific, we always look for a specific values that one brand truly hold either dear to their heart or really like stand up in the social cause, right? So for example, if you are really all about a transparency value, you would look for businesses who also have such value within their business. You wouldn't want to go to businesses who just like, don't treat their employees right or something like that. So there is this, I would say, identity alignment that we have as consumer when we purchase something. Because when we
Mhm.
purchase something, whether it's the brand or product or something else, it says something about us, right? So
Mhm.
think about it that way. I think there's always a connection that you're trying to build with your target audience, and they're looking for the same thing from you as well.
Yeah. Yeah. Do you think people in general consciously think about that, or do you think that connection with the mission and the values of a company is more kind of at a subconscious level?
I think it's I think it depends, right? If
Yeah.
it's such a commodity product, to some degree, you might not even care. However,
Hmm.
if it's a premium product, I think you would care a little bit more because you want to at least feel like, am I supporting the right business? Is my
Yeah.
money going to go to like a particular business that, will create impact, right? So
Hmm.
I think, you know, subconsciously, we probably have that in the back of our mind, but depending on what type of business, what type of product or services it is, you might also feel like, okay, where is my value really aligned here in terms of like the purchase that I'm about to make?
Mm. And I share your frustration when you go to a website and you click on about, and then there's like nothing about the people. It's all about either the product or whatever they're doing or whatever their initiatives are. And it's like, where are the people here? I want to see some faces and some stories, especially in a time with AI where it's hard to tell what's even real.
Yes. Yes.
Man.
I don't know
Yeah.
if you feel this, Scott. I feel like now there are a lot more businesses. Yes, they would implement some AI uh, automation or maybe even like AI chatbots or whatnot, right? But
Hmm.
there is also increasing amount of people would put something like talk to a human button. I don't know if you noticed that because I feel
Yeah.
like that is so interesting to see simply because we like the automation and we like AI to speed things up for us, right?
Mhm.
But we also have to acknowledge that people still would like to talk to people, right? Talk to a real human.
Yeah. When did that become a novelty? Like, oh, it's like a bonus. I get to talk to a live, actual human being. But it's interesting too with your company. You've built a company that merges creativity with the technology. Um, how do you find that inventors or entrepreneurs can really strike that balance between, when they're developing branding for a new innovation? How do you approach that?
I think it's very challenging. I have to tell you that. And mainly because creativity and technology, even here, right? I started off with my husband because I'm the one who's doing all the creative. Then he's
Mhm.
the one who does all the technology pieces. We're like complete opposite. And even the way our brain thinks, right? Creatives is very like, okay, yeah, let's do it. Ideas, vision, all of these things. And
Mhm.
then for the developers or for our tech guys, it's always been that, it has to be rigid. It's like, has to be logical. So I think it's so challenging trying to like finding the balance. And I will have to be, transparent here because it has been challenging in our first few years of building a business. And the
Mhm.
funny story is, it was at a point that I realized, okay, maybe this is not going to work because he started telling me how to design. I was telling him how to code. That was such a disaster, right? But
Yeah.
to really find a balanced approach of like creativity and technology, I think you have to be really open minded about like what is vision going to look like? How can we really be creative? What does creative even look like, right? And if you don't have that vision, I think it's going to be a bit challenging because technology always follow the vision. It's not the other way around. That's what I found
Mhm.
out, right? After like running the company 14 years with my husband, and we finally realized technology is always going to follow the strategy, the vision. So in order
Mhm.
for you to really like merge both of this world, I think you really need to start with just like dreaming big, like what it is that is going to get you really excited, something that maybe hasn't been done before, right? And how can you really dream big to make that happen? Because with AI now, really, you don't have an excuse not being able to make that happen because it's so easy to tackle specific vision, specific app, or even like other type of invention with the help of AI. So I think it's just going to
Mhm.
be really exciting years in the coming years ahead of us, seeing the balance of like how us human play with our creativity in mind while being supported with our technology and AI.
Yeah, it's gonna be a wild ride, and I feel like AI is changing the landscape under our feet by the second.
Yes.
And not even by the minute or the hour, it's like by the second. I feel like websites can kind of be a place where you have the technology and the creativity. And your book Made to Sell focuses on the websites that convert. Um, Thinking about mistakes that people make, I mean, what are some common mistakes an inventor or an entrepreneur might make when they're trying to showcase a product online?
Hmm. The top mistakes that I've seen is that number one, they're they're just too wordy, right? You
Hmm.
know, when you would go to a website and just like so much information being laid out in front of you and just like feeling so overwhelming. And I think the intention was really good, right? You want to educate your target audience so that they understand. But the challenge is that with a lot of like lengthy content, it makes it harder for people to quickly understand what is it that you are selling or what is
Hmm.
it that you're unique about, right? And how that can really, become a um, become an information that help your target audience to feel confidence when clicking that next button, when clicking that buy now button, or whatever call to action you have. So
Hmm.
number one is to make sure that when you share your story, right, when you share your message or any type of information on the website, make it snackable, right? And what does that mean, making it snackable?
It's
Making
a
it
good term.
easy for, exactly, making it easy for your user to just like skim through the important information. If you would like them to go to a very specific page to learn more, you can always direct them to go to another page to explain maybe a specific process that is maybe a lot more lengthy than what it needs to be on a homepage, right? And I think
Mhm.
that's another mistake too that people have, is that they would dump all the information on homepage. Your homepage is a catch-all. So it's not a good practice when you try to like put all of the information in one page and not being smart in terms of like what information can they quickly understand before we take them to yet another page to learn more. So I think that is the top um, mistakes that I've seen. The second part, and this is going to tie in with creativity, is all about your imagery, right? All about the visual and the emotion that you truly want to convey on your website. So oftentimes when people would have like, okay, I have this product, I have this services, or like all the different things, a picture is worth 1,000 words, right?
Mhm.
And oftentimes you would see like picture that is not aligned with the copy, picture that is not really showing, the right intention, or maybe even like a concept that you were trying to convey. So be a bit more creative in terms of like pairing some of your imagery with one real picture. Sure, you can use AI to some degree, but honestly, let's
Mhm.
make sure that you can really use your own product, maybe like a real um, product being used by actual people, and really to like envision like how would people see your product in a real life, would they use your product in a real life, because that what's get us excited, right? When we go to like Amazon or any other website trying to understand, like seeing the reviews, seeing all the photos of people who have purchased the products, like how do they use it, like how can I use it in real life? So thinking about how would your target audience use your product in day-to-day life, deliver that to them, because that's what get them excited, and that's what make them think like, oh, I really need that because I have maybe a similar similar car, or maybe like similar home, or whatever it is, right? Your type of product is, they were able to picture it in their mind how they're going to use it in their own life.
Yeah, really connecting with the images and a little bit of copy, like, "Ooh, that looks like me," or I could imagine that as
Yes.
me using that product in a similar context. I I love that too. I mean, I've seen websites that go way on the side of like all pictures and no information, and it's like, what am I looking at here? Versus all text and just a couple tiny pictures. It's like, who has time to read 8,000 words on a homepage of a website? So I love that, really balancing, here's enough information. I love that term snackable. That
Mhm.
is brilliant. Did you come up with that? Is that yours?
No.
That's okay. Oh.
Uh, a friend came up with it actually. So she runs a video company and she called her business Social Snacks. And when I asked her, I
Oh.
was like, "What does that mean, social snacks? I don't understand. Are you a snack company?" It's like, "No, we do videos, but videos are
Mhm.
snackable and people consume them like that." I was like, "That is so cool."
It really is like the YouTube Shorts. It's like potato
Yes,
chips or
yes, yes.
something. That's amazing. I love too what you mentioned about the story, the saga, storytelling. How important do you think that is as far as to get customers or potential licensees or buyers to really connect emotionally with an invention or a product that someone came up with?
Hmm. The more I learn about storytelling, I think how do I say this? The more I'm drawn to it because I think once you understand what a good storytelling is, you crave more, right?
Mhm.
And when you go to like either different websites or maybe like go somewhere else to maybe read a pamphlet or whatever, you'll start noticing the pattern and your brain just like wanted to understand was like, okay, why do I need to care about this, right? How is this relevant? So I think what we often forget is that our brain always want to find very specific information that we need, right? So
Mhm.
when you tell your story in a way that is engaging for people, in a way that people can feel connected to or draw in some emotion, that's where you can win because everybody else might sound the same, but you lead with that intention, you lead with that story and the emotion that you're trying to bring in. Earlier, we talked a little bit about like, okay, who is the founder behind this brand? Like, who are the people behind this company or whatnot? And that's when things start to emerge in terms of like, do I know these people? Are their solution going to be the right fit for me? Because we always tell stories that can get ourselves connected with one another, right? Maybe it's like, oh yeah, I had that happen before, and I can see why you create this product to help others not feeling the same, or frustrated and stuff like it, right? So I think it's so powerful if you're able to really pull a lot of these stories and leverage that as messaging for your brand, right? In any other communication, not just on a website, but maybe even on, your ads, the way you maybe tell your pitch at an investor meeting or whatever that might be. That's when
Mhm.
it creates that connection. It builds your brand and also, without you realizing it, it sells your brand as well.
It really does. And I think we're, as humans, we are hardwired for connection. And if we go back, you know, thousands and thousands of years, that's how we connected. That's how we learned, is telling stories around a fire. Um, and that elders would tell stories and they get passed down through generations. And
Yeah.
I think about the saga of a product in terms of branding and really having people connect with that product because of its story. Are there any products that you can think of as an example that just does a great job of doing that? Does
Oh
anything
man,
come to mind?
yes, right now, what I can tell you, I love all the products from Blue Land. I don't know if you're familiar with Blue Land. So
No.
Blue Land is a clean house products essentially. And I
Okay.
started off with their dishwasher cleaning product. And I think from there, it was what really drew me in was her story wanting to change our bad habit of like buying cleaning products that is not recyclable, right? Just like
Mhm.
it's a lot of like um we ended up just like creating a lot more landfills. So she really one of her mission, the founder of Blue Land, is to really eradicate that. And I love that, and because I felt like, in the back of my mind, I always feel like, what can I do to become a lot more eco conscious, right, with all of the decisions that I make in my purchasing. And
Mhm.
I also start just learning about, like, who she is. Like, she's also a mom, and she looks like me. She's Asian. So I think there's a lot of like things from, the storytelling that they have, not just on their website, but also through their email newsletter, the way they show up online, things that they stand up for, right? Things that they are
Mhm.
against. All of those just seems to line up with who I am as a person. And this
Mhm.
is where you finally see like branding really translate into human connection, but also like brand advocacy, right? And
Mhm.
I just really feel like that brand truly did a fantastic work.
That's great. Were they a customer of yours? Can you take credit for that?
No, I wish
Dang
though.
it.
Maybe one day, like more brands like this, but that's what we're
Yeah.
aiming for.
Yeah, for sure. That's awesome. What a great example. I'm gonna look them up. Blue Land.
Yes.
I'll check that out for sure. So circling back to product branding in terms of inventors or entrepreneurs bringing things to markets, what would you say are some really early indicators that the inventor or the entrepreneur's branding and presentation are really strong enough to attract a real customer?
Mm. I will have to say their storytelling,
Mhm.
in a way that they can convey, why does it have to be them to do this? And why does it have to be this product? Right. And I
Mhm.
think that's one way to
Yeah.
think about it, because if you don't have this either story or a statement or a write up about, like, why does it have to be your particular invention or product? And why does it have to be you? Because it is so powerful when you start sharing, maybe because it is like part of your journey, it is maybe part of your expertise, maybe it is actually part of the experience you had in the past, and you don't want others to go through, such maybe traumatic story or tragedy, whatever that might be, right? The stronger your connection to the story of how this business is essentially a vehicle for you to create good and create impact, the better, right? And then you
Mhm.
start thinking about, how are you really different? So with those two, you'll be able to at least create differentiation in the market. And the third part is seeing the bigger vision. Like, where are you aiming for the next 5 years, 10 years? I feel like when you have all of these information or story, or I guess you could say like assets in place, right? It makes it
Mhm.
so much easier for you to really convey. Well, maybe convey is not the right word, but it's more so like really just like sharing your product to the world in order to get customers, in order to get partnership or even investment.
Yeah, makes so much sense. And I think as inventors, the more people can think of that ahead of time, like we talked about earlier, and really connecting with that brand. I love what you said about why you and why this product. I don't know that many people really think about that. Like for me, as an example, Swat and Scoop was a product that I created because I have two daughters that don't like bugs, and they would scream, and I would go running in there as the dad, as the superhero. And it's like, all right, how do I get the big spider off the wall outside alive? Why isn't there something that does this really quick and easy?
Yeah.
So why me was I needed to solve that problem, that the cup and paper, like, or some mail or something, there wasn't really anything that I felt like worked really well. So I created it. And then that became the why me, dad with daughter don't like bugs, just want to get them out of the house alive. The
Yeah.
product became Swat and Scoop, which works really well to do that and really solve the real problem. And I don't know that I thought about it like that, though, from a branding perspective. I went with, okay, dads and parents want to be superheroes to their kids. So I went with more of a comic book superhero
Yeah.
theme, which was fun and it works. But I never really thought about it from that context of why me. So it's really interesting because I think people that are in touch with that have an opportunity to tell that story.
Yes.
That's what really grabs people and connects with people. So Really, really interesting. And I think that also connects to credibility and trust. Um, I guess the next question would be for inventors that maybe are not on a big budget or anything. What steps could they take to build that credibility and trust in a brand, for example?
Ooh, trust. That is really interesting question because I think oftentimes people would say, I don't really have a press yet. I don't have a testimonials yet, right?
Hmm.
But sometimes we also underestimate that we have a very particular knowledge of something, right? So if you just starting out and you don't have any press at all or no testimonials whatsoever just yet, you can always start with whatever the product can do today. That could mean maybe a certification, right? Maybe some sort of like endorsement from people that you look for or look up for. And then just have them really endorse your product, especially if they are well known in the current market. So you can always also start with reaching out with customers and then really incentivize them to deliver some sort of like reviews. But I think people always underestimate that trust can only be showcased through press and testimonials. There's so many different ways to do that. So borrowed equity is also something that you can leverage. Borrowed equity really means that if you're part of, let's say, an organization that is well known, right? Or maybe even like an accelerator program that you are part of. You can use that as a borrowed equity that you can include maybe in your pitch deck, your marketing collaterals, or even on the website to really showcase some social proof to help build up the trust.
Yeah, that's interesting. Borrowed equity. I love that term.
Yeah.
It's so great. And we're also in a time and a time on Earth and in a market that just seems to change so fast. What would you say inventors or entrepreneurs could do early on to ensure that their product branding stays even relevant as trends in tech, especially AI, keep changing? Like how do you have that staying power?
Are you referring to the visual?
Just maybe in general, like from a global branding perspective, how do
Yeah.
you keep your branding relevant?
I think when it comes to like staying relevant with your brand, it has to do a lot with making sure that you constantly listen to your target audience, right? When we lose track in terms of not knowing, okay, what's the current market look like, what our customers are saying, what are they currently struggling with, or some of the things that happen in our target audience lives, we probably just like shooting blank, right? To
Hmm.
explore different areas that maybe your business could do better. Some of the things that I would encourage is to, well, survey is always something that people would say like, yeah, you can always do a survey. I personally, I like to just like pick up the phone and it's like, hey, can we chat? It's like, how's everything going? Or if you feel like you are building some sort of like community with your brand, you can always do a small events here and there, right? Maybe it's a quarterly event, maybe it is an annual event, just so that you can invite your customers, understand like what's currently going on, how are they using your product still right now, or are they not using your product, and why is that? So there's always this, very tangible thing that you can do in order to stay in touch with your target audience and essentially staying relevant to them. If they're using AI to some degree for finding, different types of product, will your product show up on AI? So I think there's just a lot of different things that from your customers' behavior and things that they do day in day, it could influence how you would market your business in the next year, or even like perhaps updating some of the different key features that you might need based on the new needs that they have, right? There's so many different things. I felt like oftentimes businesses overlook staying in touch with their customers because they're busy delivering the product, right, or services. And I think there's a power in staying in touch with your target audience to know what's coming and to stay
Hmm.
relevant and stay on top of mind for them.
Great point. I feel like Starbucks is a good example of that, where early on they were very in touch with the customer and
Yeah.
what made their brand really unique. And it was making people feel good about coming in, and they got to know your name and they knew your drink. And
Hmm.
I would, when I was teaching entrepreneurship classes, I would use the example that you get a $5, say, latte at Starbucks, you can have like $1 worth of coffee, maybe. Like, what's the other $4? Self-esteem. It's like $4 of self-esteem because you're walking around with the Starbucks cup and feeling good about yourself and you had a good experience. And then they grew to a point where it became way more of a commodity, and it was just
Yeah.
became more of a machine. And I think that they're kind of getting back to their roots now about making people feel good about coming in.
Hmm.
It's so interesting. Even there's been studies with grocery store checkers, like different checkout people, where in some instances there was one line that was always the longest, and it was because the person that was the checker made the customers feel good about being there,
Yeah.
appreciating them and talking to them and making them feel important and valued. And that has real value. And I think from a
Yes.
branding perspective, I think there's definitely something people can sink their teeth into.
You know what? You just spark an idea. Well, maybe not so much an idea, but more of an observation, right? Branding can't work if there is no emotion, right? It
Mhm.
has to be from people. You can't have AI deliver that emotion, really. I mean, to some degree, maybe it can help speed up your intake form or questionnaire or whatnot. But I think it's always the people that can deliver such emotion. And I think there's such a big power to it. So tying it back for maybe, some of the founders that still feel that, oh, I don't want to be the face of my company.
Mm.
You don't have to be, but at least to some degree, you need to represent your brand and business and deliver that emotion and connect with your target audience.
Yeah, it's so true. I think Steve Jobs is a good example of that too,
Yes.
connecting with the people and not just wanting to create something better compared to the competition, but create something different,
Hmm.
different than something anybody's ever seen. And yeah, I think he's one of the masters, or was one of the masters at connecting that emotional piece to the audience. Um, I know we're getting close to our time here. Last question for you. If you could give one piece of advice to inventors or entrepreneurs who've been stuck between prototype and profitable, I guess what would that look like? What would that advice be in terms of from a branding or website perspective? Like, okay, I have my prototype, and now how do I make this profitable?
Yes. What I often share with early stage founders, especially when you're still like trying to put together a prototype and feeling that I'm not ready yet to tell the world, you're gonna have to start, right? You have to start telling people about it because what's so overlooked is that the connection that you are creating when you start telling the story is like, here's why I'm making this product right now. Still in prototype, but here's the story, right? What is that story? What are you hoping to achieve? And what could people really get from, getting the product once it's done? The earlier you get some followers or even like potential customers or even like beta testers, right? To get in this orbit of your brand, the better, simply because these are people who really understand your journey and feel like they're being taken to a journey with you together until the prototype is published, until the prototype is essentially ready for purchase. So I'm a big believer in making sure that you're building the connection as soon as possible. Don't hide it, right? Don't wait until launch time, but really connect with these people today. You can simply put a landing page with just like a coming soon, a little story about it, maybe even like a quick photo of the prototype if that is applicable, or you can share, without revealing maybe patent or something like that. but really just like start building the connection. Ask them to stay, in touch with you, maybe through a email newsletter. Maybe you'll update them every once a week, once a month, however you see fit. But that is when a brand starting to create connection for their target audience. So definitely don't hold it just, with yourself. Make sure you share it with the world.
Love that. Start early, make the connection. It sounded the way you described it as if you're almost creating a movement
Yes. And I
around
think
your
we
brand.
forgot about that. Yeah. The community as well, Scott.
Yeah, it's so important. I think if people, we all want to connect to something greater than ourselves and be part of something that is kind of a movement where we feel like we're going to have a little piece in something that is benefits the whole. Yeah, great stuff. So, final thoughts for our Inventor's Edge listeners.
Final thoughts. Let's see. Branding starts with you, right? You are the visionary. You are the essence of your business, and let that come true. And I feel like oftentimes you might hold it too dear to your heart because you might want to protect yourself, or maybe like scared of what other people think. But this is your brand. This is going to be something that maybe change somebody's life, or maybe like bettering people's life as well. So definitely share that, because people connect with people and the brand starts with you.
Wow. So well spoken. Ari, how can people get in touch with you? What's the best way for them to connect with you?
Yes, I am active on LinkedIn, so definitely reach out on LinkedIn. We'll connect there. You can also go to my website. I know Scott will have the link for you guys, and you can also
Yep.
get the free first chapter of my book on the website.
That is awesome. And the name of your business, I see it in the background. Can you pronounce that?
Yes, Psikalofia.
Tell us just final. What does that mean?
Psikalofia means challenging oneself. I made that up when I was in high school, long before I even know I was going to build a business.
Oh, you made up that word.
I did.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow. Okay. That's awesome. Very cool. I love the logo too.
Thank you,
Well,
Scott.
thanks so much, Ari, for being on the show. I appreciate your time, and we'll look forward to having you back on.
Thank you so much.
Thanks for tuning in to the Inventor's Edge podcast. I'm your host, Scott Putnam, and if you enjoyed today's episode, don't forget to like and subscribe, leave a review, and please share it with fellow inventors. Your next breakthrough could be just around the corner. For more tools, tips, and resources, visit us at inventors-edge.com. Until next time, invent with purpose, innovate with passion, and bring your ideas to life.